I'm not proud of anything I did. There was a lot of violence. There was a lot of physical harm, emotional harm, a lot of lonely times, wandering, just trying to find more or find something. When I started into getting high in prostitution, I was in my 40s, early 40s, and I was getting high for like 10 years on and off. I had a couple clean time, but they didn't last very long. I had that temptation in my system for the fast life, fast money, the wildness. A lot of it was companionship. Some of it was trade-offs for drugs and sex for drugs or sex for money, drugs. Or I dealt with the dealers, so I got the drugs instead of dealing with the people that were outside of that, and then I'd have to go find the drug. I just dealt with the dealer. I was raised up in a family with a brother and a sister. It was like the Brady Bunch, setting wise, living wise, but that was only on the outside. You know, on the inside, behind closed doors, it was hell. My dad was an architectural designer for a big company out here. He was abusive towards my mom and us kids. He died when I was like 7, so I lost a father figure. I don't know how much of a father he really was, you know, looking back at it. I don't really remember the childhood. It must have been really negative to block it, you know, a bad one. But I think that I went and hung out with the friends because I felt like family. Like they care, we've got something in common. Adults suck, you know, we're cool, and just turned rebel and started being outdoors with them and doing outdoor kid stuff like riding four-wheelers and snowmobiles and stuff that mom and dad don't provide for us. I got introduced to marijuana at like 14, and I remember going to this girl's house, which was beautiful and popular, and I was a nerdy friend, you know, and she took my glasses and threw them out the window, and I said, Mom's gonna be mad at me, and she gave me a makeover, and I got high, right, for the first time, and I go in the bathroom, and I look at myself, and I'm crying, like, what is wrong with you? Your mother's gonna kill you, your glasses are gone. And like, I just remember the self-hate that I had for myself because it wasn't me. It was like a third person, and it was weird. The choices I've made over time definitely stem from the pattern. You know, I have a pattern that I lived through, and it's definitely from my childhood, the way I was raised. I ended up befriending this guy, and he raped me, and I was 18, I think, and I ended up leaving town for fear for my life because he was pretty violent, and if I don't know if he threatened me, I don't remember that, but at that point I didn't know I was pregnant. I just left town because my thing was run, don't face it, just run. My kids are like teenagers at this point, and they move out on their own, and I find myself living on my own. And I was on painkillers for a head injury from a job that I got hurt at, and I was drinking alcohol, and I was getting depressed, and I wound up at the mental ward, and the doctor told me it was empty nest syndrome that I had, and I thought I was losing my mind. I ended up back at my daughter's. It got so bad, that my daughter had to move. She couldn't handle me. So then I go out to get some marijuana with some kid and end up at a crack spot and end up trying crack for the first time and prostitution for the first time. It was easy access, it was quick money, it was attention. It was thinking it was like they got love for me. And really, once the drugs and the games were over as far as the prostitution part, once the money ran out, you were out. You were in the street. You were just wandering around trying to figure out what's next. And that was me. I've slept in abandoned houses, and you don't sleep. You crash. And if you survive through the night, you're lucky, without having any intruders. Because that abandoned building is really not an abandoned building. It's a place where people go and use and abuse and do their thing, sex favors for drugs, and some of those girls don't make it out of that building. You know, they're found overdosed, and they didn't overdose. Through all that, I had a gun to my head a few good times. I was raped quite a few times. I was gang raped. I was beaten down. I was kidnapped. I was held hostage. My face has been broken I don't know how many times, more than half a dozen from my nose. I have an eye injury. I have nerve damage. They did an x-ray of my head, and my brain is intact. It's perfectly fine, which is amazing after everything I've been through. I've been dropped on the cement. I've been pushed, thrown into a brick wall. So to know that it's all intact is like, wow. The day I realized I needed to get my life together, the day I woke up and said no more, changed my whole life. I went into isolation for the first 2 years of my recovery. And now, being sober, I can see truths. And I try not to drive myself crazy because I have PTSD, but I'm finding myself, I'm doing my art. I've got my puppy that was adopted in the first couple of years of recovery, and she's like a complete blessing. That's my empty nest syndrome gone out the window with this one, because she's like a kid. It's serious though. It's life and death. And unless you've been in it, or you know somebody, or you really respect it enough to hear it, you don't get what I'm saying. But it's only a second, not even a second, and you're done. You're dead. And I survived all that. For what? I'm still trying to figure that out. all good. It's all good. I'm not crying. I'm good. That's tears of joy. It's a difference.